Actors hear the word AI, and almost immediately, three fears show up: replacement, erasure, theft. The idea that your face, your voice, your work, everything you've spent years building can suddenly be taken, copied, or pushed aside by a machine. That fear makes sense, but it's also incomplete, because here's the part no one tells you up front. AI isn't coming for acting. It's already inside the acting industry. It's in casting workflows. It's in post-production. It's in voice work, motion capture, virtual sets, and performance cleanup. And the real danger isn't artificial intelligence. The real danger is not understanding how it's being used. Actors who understand AI gain leverage. They know when to say yes, they know when to say no, and they know how to protect themselves. Actors who ignore it lose control of their likeness, their voice, and eventually their options. So let's reset the fear right now. AI isn't here to replace actors. It's here to expose which actors are adaptable and which ones are hoping the industry stays frozen in time. If we're going to talk honestly about AI and acting, we have to stop treating it like science fiction and start looking at what's already happening, because none of this is theoretical. Virtual production stages already exist. Actors are performing in LED volume environments where the location is digital, but the performance still has to be real. Casting breakdowns are already being filtered, sorted, and matched using AI-assisted tools, not to replace casting directors, but to move faster and narrow options sooner. Synthetic voices are already in use. Facial capture is already standard in games and effects-heavy projects. Performance cleanup, eye lines, timing, micro adjustments. That's already part of post-production. So when people say AI is coming, the honest response is, it's been here. What is accelerating toward 2026 is speed. Productions are moving faster, crews are getting smaller, shooting days are getting tighter, and in many cases, actors are being scanned once and reused multiple times across scenes, projects, and formats. That doesn't mean actors are being erased. It means performances are being extended. And this is the most important clarification to understand. AI does not originate performance. It does not invent intention. It does not choose subtext. It does not decide why a moment matters. AI can replicate what already exists, but it needs a human performance to start with, which means the real shift isn't about replacement. It's about placement. Once you accept that AI is already part of the job, the question stops being if actors are needed and becomes, where do actors fit now? When actors hear about AI-driven production, the first assumption is loss. Less control, less presence, less need for performance. But what's actually happening is expansion. Acting isn't disappearing. It's moving on to new stages. Virtual production and motion capture mean you're often performing without a physical set. No walls, no props, sometimes no scene partners. And that changes what matters. Appearance becomes secondary. Consistency becomes critical, because the camera might be virtual, but your body still has to tell the truth. Every shift of weight, every gesture, every moment of stillness. Body awareness stops being an abstract acting note and becomes a technical skill. Your performance has to track cleanly, from take to take, from angle to angle, sometimes across days or weeks of capture. That's not less acting. That's precision acting. Now let's talk about voice. Voice synthesis and emotional AI don't work without human emotional mapping. AI can reproduce sound. It can mimic tone, but it cannot decide intention. Actors who understand pacing, who understand subtext, who understand what a line is doing beneath the words, those actors don't get replaced. They become supervisors of their own digital voice. They guide how emotion is shaped, how meaning is delivered, and where silence matters more than sound. You're no longer just recording dialogue. You're shaping performance behavior. And then there's interactive performance. This is where things really shift. Branching narratives, multiple outcomes, scenes that change based on audience input. Instead of playing a single version of a moment, actors perform ranges, different emotional paths, different reactions, different consequences. You're not giving one performance. You're building a performance system. And this leads to the most important insight in this section. AI doesn't remove acting. It multiplies versions of it. More choices, more interpretations, more responsibility. The actors who thrive here aren't the ones trying to protect the past. They're the ones learning how to perform inside a larger creative ecosystem without losing their humanity. Once you accept that AI is already part of the job, the question stops being if actors are needed and becomes, where do actors fit now? The ethical mirror: likeness, legacy, and law. Now we need to talk about ethics, not to scare you, but to put power back where it belongs. Because in the AI era, your face and your voice are no longer just creative tools. They're assets. Digital twins and deepfakes didn't create this reality. They exposed it. Once your likeness is scanned, once your voice is captured, that data can live far longer than a single project, and scans without protections become long-term risks. Not because AI is malicious, but because contracts are often vague. This is where many actors get tripped up. The real issue is not ownership, it's usage. Who can use your likeness, how they can use it, where it can appear, and for how long. Which brings us to contractual clarity. Actors must understand 4 things before agreeing to any AI-related use: scope, duration, territory, and reuse. Scope defines what the material can be used for. Duration defines how long, territory defines where, and reuse defines whether your performance can appear again and again and again. Any contract that includes vague or open-ended language, especially in perpetuity or forever clauses, is not neutral. Those clauses are career enders. They don't just affect this job. They affect your future opportunities, your negotiating power, and your ability to say no later. This is where unions come in, are actively addressing AI replicas, consent requirements, and compensation structures. They're pushing for clear permission, clear payment, and clear limits. But here's the part that doesn't get said enough. If you're non-union, you don't get fewer responsibilities. You get more. You have to read more carefully, ask more questions, and protect yourself proactively. Because AI doesn't discriminate between union and non-union performers. It only follows the contract. So this section isn't about panic, it's about awareness. Once protections are understood, once boundaries are clear, once consent is intentional, then we can finally talk about what AI cannot replace. After all the talk about technology, tools, and systems, this is the moment to reset something important, because there is a line AI cannot cross: emotional intelligence. AI can imitate emotion, it can model it, it can reproduce patterns that look like feeling, but it does not experience emotion. Actors do. Humans interpret meaning through memory, instinct, culture, and lived experience. That's where nuance comes from. That's where truth comes from. And directors don't respond to technical accuracy. They respond to authenticity. A moment that feels real will always matter more than a moment that is perfectly generated. This is also where improvisation separates humans from systems. AI requires structure. Actors bring flexibility. On set, things change. A line gets cut, a moment shifts, a reaction lands differently than expected. Actors who can adjust in real time, who can listen, respond, and pivot become invaluable. That adaptability isn't just artistic, it's practical. Actors who can pivot get hired again. And then there's the director's eye. Acting is not output, it's interpretation. 2 actors can say the same line, stand in the same light, hit the same marks, and create entirely different meaning. Because meaning doesn't come from the line itself. It comes from intention, why this moment matters, what the character wants, what they're afraid of revealing. AI can replicate what already exists, but it cannot decide why a moment matters without human guidance. That human perspective, the emotional filter, the interpretive lens, the lived understanding, is still the final pass on every performance. So here's the truth that grounds everything we've talked about. AI can copy what you did, it cannot replace why you did it. And that difference is where actors remain essential. So here's where all of this lands. AI is not a talent, it's a tool. It doesn't have instinct, it doesn't have taste, and it doesn't have intention. Actors do. And actors who take the time to understand AI, not master it, not worship it, just understand how it's used, they gain autonomy. They know when a deal works for them, they know when it doesn't. They know what questions to ask before anyone presses record or scan. They also gain leverage because informed actors are harder to exploit. They can collaborate instead of comply. They can negotiate instead of guess. And most importantly, they gain longevity. not by chasing trends, not by trying to out-tech the tech, but by staying rooted in what makes them human, while being fluent enough in the tools to stay relevant. The actors who struggle in the next few years won't be the ones without talent. They'll be the ones waiting for the industry to go back to how it was, because it's not going back. But that doesn't mean it's getting colder or smaller or less meaningful. The future of acting isn't less human. It's more intentional, more conscious choices, clearer boundaries, stronger voices. If this conversation helped you see the landscape more clearly, consider subscribing, sharing, or adding your voice below. And if you're an actor watching this, here's the real question to think about. What part of AI excites you, and what part still worries you? That's where the next conversation begins.